गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्रयवतो गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम्.
Saram brothers, loving Saram. Today we have Dr. Amey Deshpande, PhD. Brother's name itself is introduction. Still would like to share few insights from his profile with all of you. Brother Amey hails from Maharashtra and studied in primary school from 1990 to 1993. He acquired his bachelor degree from Bangalore University in 2000 and further pursued his chartered accountancy in Bangalore till 2003. During his period, he worked with HP in Financial Service Center at Bangalore. He was a very active member of Bangalore Sevadal and Vrindavan Bhajan Group till 2003. Further, he enrolled for the MBA program in Sri Sathya Institute of Higher Learning in 2003. Thereafter, no going back. At the Bhagawan's Lotus Feet, he registered for MPhil program in 2006. He was awarded with a gold medal in 2007 for the distinction in MPhil. Further, brother have completed his doctoral studies in 2016 under the area of corporate strategy in the Department of Management and Commerce in Prashanthi Nilayam. He's wearing multiple caps and multiple hats, working beyond what even we can imagine. He is a great singer who has sung multiple programs and in multiple different dimensions in the divine presence. His interest also lies in tabla, dholak, and all the percussion instruments, and we keep hearing his divine voice every day, morning as well as evening, in divine bhajans. He has also performed in Bhavyanjali, Nad Brahma, and other series of Sai bhajans. He was blessed to speak in divine presence in many occasions, and every interaction with him is always a soulful interaction. He has acted in multiple dramas and offered in the divine presence as a student in Prashanthi Nilayam. In the several years, he has been involved in all the programs, whatever we have been offered, or other institutions those have offered to Bhagawan. Currently, brother is a residential fellow and newly formed Sri Sathya Sai Center of Human Values. The center has been started under the direct guidance of Bhagawan as well as Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust. They have been one of them strong pillar who have conducted multiple research programs, training for all across the globe, and still working and decoding Swami's message for all of us. We'll welcome Dr. Amey Deshpande, brother, to come and enlighten all of us and share all those thoughts of wisdom with our brothers too. Saram, brother.
साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Invoking our beloved Swami's benediction and his presence this morning, and offering our pranams at his divine lotus feet. Revered elders, dear brothers, a very warm and loving Sairam to all of you. And at the outset, let us all pray for the well-being of this entire world. Not just all our brothers and sisters, but the entire world. Let it experience bliss and well-being and peace. Thank you, Brother Kush, for that very, very generous introduction. Um, most of you can just completely discount half of whatever was said. I think that is more an emotional connect between all of you and Prashanti Nilayam that makes you feel very, loving towards us. And in fact, hearing that introduction, I am reminded of a beautiful Chinnakatha that Swami would often tell us. And I have told this many times. For those of you who have heard it, it will just be another reiteration. And for those of you who have not, it's a very, very interesting and beautiful Chinnakatha that Swami would say. So let me start with that. Of course, it has got nothing to do with the topic this morning, but I was just so intrigued to kind of share this, the story, this Chinnakatha, beautiful Chinnakatha with you all. So it goes something like this: that hundreds of years ago, there was this village, and there was this beautiful sculptor who lived in the village, and he used to sculpt out the most exquisite, intricate, beautiful, ornamental statues of different forms of the Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, Ganesha, so on and so forth. And his fame had spread far and wide until one day when the king of that kingdom in which he belonged to himself got to know that there exists this wonderful sculptor. And so he requested for his own bedroom, he wanted a beautiful Vishnu idol. And this was like the pinnacle of the glory for the sculptor. And so he put in his heart and soul, and he kind of made the most beautiful statue. And the statue was ready. And now, usually, what this sculptor did was that he had a donkey. He had a donkey who he used for transporting whatever statues he made. And so, since the king had not sent anything or anybody, he put once again this beautiful ornate statue of Lord Vishnu. He put it on. Okay, my voice is a bit low, so let me see what can be done. I will try and speak a little louder. Is this okay now? I'm just speaking a little louder. I hope this is all right.
Yes, brother, loud and clear.
Okay. So he put this statue on this idol on top of the donkey, the back of the donkey, and for the first time, this donkey starts to walk towards the capital city, where the palace of the king is. And on the way, he is walking through some of the most populated areas, like the what they call as the downtown, or the the central business district, like the CBD kind of, where all the biggest merchants and the richest people they live. And so this donkey for the first time is going through the streets and seeing this beautiful idol. All the people in the marketplace and all the rich people and the wealthy and all of them are coming out on the on the street and seeing this beautiful statue. They are throwing flowers and kumkum and chandan, and this donkey starts to believe that all of this is for him. Okay, so they are all doing like namaskar, sashtang namaskar in front on the road, and the donkey feels that, wow, finally my time has come. After all of these years of serving my master, finally people come to know how important I am. See, people are doing namaskar to me, people are throwing flowers on me, people are throwing kumkum on me. And with an extra puff of air in his lungs, he's walking majestically, whatever the donkey can walk majestically. He's walking, and finally the pinnacle comes where the king, the queen, and everybody in the royal family walks out of the palace, and they themselves come and they do namaskar in front of him, and the donkey is like absolutely elated. He's ecstatic because the king himself has come to receive him. And in a ceremonial kind of a procession, the statue is taken into the palace. And the moment the statue is taken into the palace and the entire royal family kind of follows the statue, the guards who are over there, they look at this donkey and they say, hut, hut, they kind of just shoo it away. And the donkey is like shocked. The donkey is like, what is this? 5 minutes back, I was like the center of attention. the cynosure of everybody's eyes, and now suddenly being showed away. And so the donkey anyway moves from there, and now he starts to make his way back to his master's house, and not a soul is looking at the donkey. Not nobody is throwing flowers or kumkum or nothing like that. In fact, he's been shooed away wherever he goes. And now the monkey starts to think, see how fickle-minded is this man. Just 5 minutes back, everybody, I am that same donkey that was walking 5 minutes back. And how fickle-minded is man. They have no clue who this donkey is. And so, he kind of reaches back and he speaks to his master. He asks, Master, what is with these people? Don't they know that this was the same very donkey that 5 minutes back, I was walking through the capital roads towards the palace. And then this master sculptor tells, you fool, oh donkey, remember that all of those salutations and all of those pranams were not to you, but to the Lord who was on your back. And the reason why I kind of reminded of the story is because Swami goes on to say that all my students, and that by students he means all those who are associated with him, are like those donkeys. As long as Swami's name is associated with us, as long as that name Sai student, that Sai is associated with any one of us, the world will adulate us, the world will come and throw flowers at us, etc., etc. The moment the name Sai is detached from our name, we are nothing but zeros. We are nothing but those donkeys. And so I humbly submit that I do not want to be like that donkey. I know very well that whatever love that you all give is to the Swami who's seated in each one of our hearts and not to any one individual. So let us not, kind of kid ourselves by thinking that we are anything. We are nothing but zero. And Swami is that one in our life. The moment we add Swami to our lives, then only all our lives become meaningful and useful. Anyway, so now that this story is kind of out of the way, let's get on to the topic for this morning. Just as I was seeing the bhajans which were played right before our session started, and to see the video of Swami standing with the students and talking, I'm reminded of another story that is very close to my heart. And once again, I have repeated it many, many times, but as many number of times that I, kind of tell it, it's a beautiful reminder to myself. So, and that story is connected to the topic today. And the story goes as follows. So you would have all seen, where Swami was standing outside and talking to the students. That's pretty much where the samadhi is there currently. Just in the videos that we were seeing before, kind of, the session started, right? So where Swami was standing was where the samadhi is. But prior to 2008, the bhajans used to happen inside the bhajan hall. Now we all know that the bhajan hall is a pretty small place, can accommodate only 600, 700 people maximum. And there would be thousands wanting to get into the bhajan hall. So one of our professors, he did not, so every day, there would be like a clamor, there would be like a fight to get into the bhajan hall because limited seats and unlimited demand. So this professor decided that he will just sit outside, and while Swami is seated on the throne inside, he will simply close his eyes and he will visualize Swami enjoying bhajan, like the way we know it, putting talam or just swaying his hand and swaying his body, and he would visualize. One of the days in the evening, as this was going on and he was visualizing the Swami inside of his mind's eye, he did not notice that Swami had actually gotten up from the throne. Okay, he had come out, he had gone out for a little work, he had come back, and Swami was standing right opposite to him outside. Okay, he does not know that the actual physical Swami is standing outside. He was just focused, he was lost on the Swami inside. And the bhajan, that particular bhajan got over, and so he opened his eyes only to find physically Swami standing right in front of him. And immediately, his hands went like this with pranam, and Swami gives him a beautiful smile. Swami comes really close to him and whispers into his ears. Swami said in Hindi, "Andar ka Swami or bahar ka Swami ek hi hai." ही है, which means the Swami inside of you and the Swami outside are one and the same. The reason I start with this is because it is because we have forgotten the Swami inside, because we do not contemplate and we do not meditate on the Swami inside, that a Swami outside has to take form and come in the human form to remind us of the Swami who is inside of us. Mind you, they both are the same. The outside Swami only comes to remind us, to reintroduce us to the Swami inside of us. And that is the entire process of life. In fact, we don't have a Swami, we don't need a Swami outside if we are connected to the Swami inside of us 24/7. Right? It may sound a little controversial when I put it that way, but we need that Swami outside of us to remind us of the Swami inside. And so, this is the entire process that we are going to take up. And I take this opportunity to congratulate each and every one of you to have been selected for this National Leadership Program, because over the next 8 months, it is going to be an incredible journey of finding that Swami within us. Dear brothers, remember one thing, that as once we are able to find that Swami within us, there is nothing that can stop us from succeeding in every endeavor of life, whether it be personal, whether it be professional, whether it be spiritual. And so all of that leadership is only an excuse for us to get on, embark on this journey to actually find the Swami within us. So, saying this much, let us jump into the into the two chapters. So, what I will very quickly do is, maybe in the next 25 minutes or so, we will go through the summary. You have already read the chapters, so there is nothing more that I need to add. What I will do is, I'll just present to you those points which kind of touched me, which inspired me from these two chapters, and then let's open it out to for a question answer session, or a comments session, and let's see what comes up, what questions you may have. All right. So I'm going to share my screen right now with you. Yeah. Can you all see this presentation?
Yes, brother.
All right. So let's go ahead.
Yes,
So first of
brother.
all, yeah. So first of all, I'm sure you know about what the Vahini is, right? Vahini actually means the flow. It simply means like how the river flows. So that is why we have, that is what Swami coined as what his own writings were, because when he wrote, all of them just came in a flow. So Swami has written 15 Vahinis, and the incredible thing about these Vahinis is that you probably do not know this part, that in February of 1958, Swami started the Sanatana Sarthi, and he started submitting, these articles. Can you imagine Swami submitting articles for the Sanatana Sarthi? And for an incredible 26 years after that, from 1958 to 1984, every single month, Swami would give either one or two articles for the Sanatana Sarthi. So the first Vahini was the Prema Vahini, which started in February of 1958. And the second Vahini was the Sandeha Nivarini, which started in the May of 1958. And this Vahini that we are all studying, the Dhyana Vahini, started in January of 1959 and went on for 14 months. So that's why you will notice that there are 14 chapters. In some editions, there are 13 chapters. In some editions, there are 14 chapters, but they were basically 14 articles that Swami wrote. So these were, articles that came up every month for the reader. So much for an introduction. And in fact, the pages that you are able to see right now on your screen is from the Dhyana Vahini. These are the original manuscripts of Swami's handwriting. Just imagine, you can see the flow. There's hardly one or two cuts in an entire page. That is how beautiful, Swami's writing was. So let's move on. Let's go on to the first chapter. And I thought that the way Swami started this chapter itself was so fascinating. It's almost like a lawyer making a case. He's making his arguments for why do you need dhyana. Very strangely, the Dhyana Vahini, the very first line of the first chapter of Dhyana Vahini, starts with action, not with dhyana. It starts with karma. because Swami is making the case. He says, see, all of us from dawn to dusk, even from birth to death, we are all, engaged in activity. For example, the first thing that may come to our minds is, hey, come on, you're asking me to meditate. I just don't have time to meditate. There's so much work to do. I prefer seva. I want to achieve this, ambition, power, all of that. Swami is starting exactly with that. He's saying, from dawn to dusk, from birth to death, all of us have to take up activity, karma. We have no escape from karma. But all of these karmas can be categorized in two different groups. What are those groups? Swami refers to the first group as Vishaya Karmas. What are Vishaya Karmas? He gives three characteristics of them. The first characteristic is actions that are based on the senses. So we have 10 senses, right? We have the five karmendriyas and the five jnanendriyas, right? The five karmendriyas are the five limbs of action. Okay, action meaning our hands, our feet, our mouth, our eyes. Those are all our karmendriyas. The jnanendriyas are the limbs of knowledge. What goes in? So one is the output, one is the input. So karmendriyas is the output, jnanendriyas is the input. So our nose, our eyes, once again, our ears, our tongue, our skin. Those are the five. So anything which is any action which is based or which is driven by the senses, those are called Vishaya Karmas. The problem with the Vishaya Karmas is that they are binding. They bind us to the world. Okay? And anything that will bind us will always lead to sorrow. That's what Swami, his hypothesis is very, very clear. Anything that binds will lead to sorrow. Whereas the second type of karmas are the Shreyo Karmas, which are based on the inner world, right? Which is Antarmukta. These actions lead to everlasting bliss, and they are those which liberate. And then Swami goes on to say that Dhyana is the greatest form of the Shreyo Karma. Okay, so that is what my PPT seems to have frozen. Yeah. So amongst the Shreyo Karmas, the best is Dhyana. But you see, Dhyana is a topic, or meditation is a topic which has been kind of spoken at length. Today, in fact, more so than any other time, in history, today you find the West kind of moving towards meditation. In fact, I still remember when Hillary Clinton lost the presidential elections in 2016, which she was definitely going to win. She was so shaken up, she was so devastated that the only way she could come back, to some kind of sanity was, she said, she called it the alternate nostril breathing, which we call as pranayama. Okay? So she referred to it as the alternate nostril breathing, which is nothing but a form of dhyana. So you see, like dhyana is something that is prevalent, it is ubiquitous everywhere. So much so that you have all of these new age gurus and you have all of these people who kind of say, dhyana is a stress buster and it will help you reduce your cholesterol and it will help you reduce hypertension. And they just pitch the concept of meditation from a very physical perspective. That is why Swami is saying that this meditation word has been much abused. And hence, Swami writes this beautiful statement: my present intention is to instruct such people, and therefore I am revealing to you the secrets of meditation. So, what is meditation according to Swami? Very, very, very simple. We have these two bullocks. Swami refers to them as two bullocks. Okay, Manas and Buddhi. That is all our desires, our thoughts, our aspirations, and our feelings and emotions. This is all in the category of Manas, and Buddhi is the intellect. Now, if we want the cart to go in the direction that we have desired it to go, then these two, Manas and Buddhi, must listen to us. Otherwise, either if they are so dull, there will be no movement at all, they'll just sit down, both of them, or they will go in two different directions, and in which case, there will be only chaos and confusion. Swami says that the training of this Manas and Buddhi can be done by Japa. So the entire idea of dhyana is to train our Manas and our Buddhi. So I'm sure most of you have seen this picture, but I'm going to tell you for the next 15 seconds, okay, Do this exercise and you will see an incredible thing happening. So there are 4 dots right in the middle of this, this picture that you can see. I will count from 15 down to 0. I just want you to look at these 4 dots. Okay, just look at only those 4 dots. Are you ready? Let's go. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now just close your eyes. Okay, brothers, can anyone tell what are you seeing?
Sairam brother, I can see Jesus.
Sairam, brother, even I see Jesus.
Sairam, brother, I can even see Jesus.
Sairam brother, I
Salam,
am
brother.
also
I
seeing
can see
Jesus.
Jesus.
Exactly, I could see Jesus.
That's it.
Same brother, I can see Jesus.
Yes, yes, that's wonderful. So I'm sure all of you out there are able to see the form of Jesus Christ, right? Just imagine a physical act of just looking at the picture for roughly about 15 seconds is able to create the form of the Lord in our mind. What you just did was a snapshot of jnana. Is a snapshot of meditation. See, what we did, we simply trained our manas and our buddhi to do nothing but just concentrate on those 4 dots, right? Of course, this is a picture, it's a physical thing, and so we will go into the details of, okay, cool, thank you, brother, thanks a lot, but what next, right? So we will go into the details of that, right? So this was just to give you a little preview of what can happen when you simply kind of train your mind and our buddhi to do what we are asked to do. All right, so let's move on. Swami goes on to say, what kind of dhyana must one do? The whole idea of dhyana is to go from a wayward mind to a single pointed mind. Okay, so basically, what the word Swami uses, Anekagrata to Ekagrata. Ekagrata is single focus. It's like a laser, because our mind, our tendency of the mind is to always keep jumping from one thought to the other, one emotion to the other, maybe one situation to another. Okay, so all the idea of the dhyana is to make our mind single pointed. Now there are two kinds of focus. Okay, one is the focus on the outward, on the outside, which is prakriti, and the another one focus is on inward, which is vedanta. Right? So look at a scientist, for example, when he is working in a lab, he is absolutely focused. I'm sure many of you are software engineers, many of you are, let's say doctors. Especially look at the life of a surgeon, for example. How focused they have to be while they're performing a surgery. Especially, let us say something like a neurosurgery or something like a cardiological surgery. Excuse me. So imagine how much focus is necessary for a kind of surgery. But all of that focus, Swami refers to it as outward focus. And then there is the other kind of dhyana, which is the inward focus, right? So we will look at what happens when we have an outward focus and when we have an inward focus. The dhyana that Swami is referring to us is the inward focus. In fact, if we get the inward focus, automatically our outward focus will also improve. That's the beauty. But the other way does not happen. If you have an outward focus, our inward focus will not improve, because you see, the outward focus will be a limited focus when it comes to, like, let's say our work. Let's say we have a deadline to achieve. So all our focus, our attention will be on that. But that will not necessarily help us to kind of move inside and move inner. So while one leads to the other does not lead to the previous one. Yeah. Now Swami refers to 3 things. He says, in order to have or to be successful in dhyana, you need three things. One is enthusiasm, the second is faith, and the third is care. These three words, these actual words appear in the text. So the problem with a lot of us who have tried meditation is, we very quickly it fizzles out. Our enthusiasm fizzles out. Swami is telling no, it should not fizzle out. Okay, if we are enthusiastic about something, then it has to that enthusiasm must be there every day, every time we do it. For how long? Till we start getting an experience out of it. Because once the experience, a good experience come from it, that itself is a feedback. It's like a incentive for us to do more meditation. But maybe for a week, maybe for 10 days, maybe for a month, we may not get any experience. Therefore, we must have enthusiasm to kind of embark upon this. That's number one. Second most important, faith. Many people ask, does experience come first or does faith come first? A lot of people, our logic will tell us that only if I have an experience, then only I can have faith, right? But if you're just going to wait for a particular experience to come, then we may wait forever, or we may wait for something that may be so devastating that it will change our entire life. Instead, Swami says, see, what happens is when you wait for an experience to have faith, there are so many small little experiences happening around ourselves which we are not even aware of. And so we may miss out on all of those little experiences waiting for that one major mega experience to come, right? Therefore, start with faith. Have faith that if I do this, this is good for me. We are not meditating for Swami. Swami is not going to benefit out of our meditation, right? We are doing this for ourselves. So first have that self-confidence and the faith in Swami that I am doing the right thing. And then take care. Take care that you're not overdoing it, that you are not underdoing it. You're just hitting the right level that is necessary. So that is the kind of dhyana that we must do. Obviously, the end of the first chapter ends with the method. So Swami talks about elevated space. Swami talks about what kind of a mat you should have, what kind of posture that is important, what preparation is necessary, then why japa is so important for dhyana, and finally the control of mental wanderings and the timing. I'm sure all of you have a lot of questions about the timings because the timings that Swami talks about are like absolutely like incredulous. For Swami says, I think you can wake up at 4 o'clock, and then have bath and sit for meditation. And I'm sure that itself must have like, oh no way am I going to get up at 4 o'clock and do that. So let's come to that. And in case you have any doubts, we can take it up in our discussion. Now let's move on to second chapter. Swami talks about three types of meditation. I'm sure you must have read it: the tamasic, the rajasic, and the sattvic meditation. Swami refers to tamasic meditation, that meditation or japa which is done specifically for a particular desire. So I have a desire, I want to fulfill it, and so I start meditating, I start praying. That's a very, very cheap way of using meditation. See, our problem now is that most of the times we are using God to get the world. We go to a temple, we ask, we pray for something with the idea that I want to get God. Marathi has unmuted. You could just mute. Yeah, thank you. So we are using God to get the world. What we need to do actually is to exactly flip it around. We need to use the world to get to God. Right? Our problem is, if God does not fulfill my desires, then I start replacing God with other things. Like what? Like money, like relationships, like my power, my ambition, my position in society. Because I believe that if I have money, I can get the world. If I have power, I can get the world. Or if I have God and if He listens to me, then He will give me the world. You see, we are using God as one of the mediums to achieve the world. Swami wants us to exactly flip it around. The reason why we have come to this organization, why we are taking up the leadership program, is only exactly to find this, that to flip around our equation. Use the world to achieve God. Right? So tamasic meditation is that where we are using God to get what we want in the world. Same thing with Rajasic. The only difference between tamasic and Rajasic is that in Rajasic, what happens? We start with a lot of good intentions, but very quickly, if we start seeing that they are not, my desires are not being fulfilled, I start getting anxious. I start getting apprehensive. I start getting diffident. अरे यार कुछ नहीं हो रहा है यार. 3 हफ्तों से मैं meditate कर रहा हूँ लेकिन कुछ नहीं हो रहा. Relax. Don't focus. Don't focus too much on the outcome. Focus more on the process of doing. Right. So that is the Rajasic kind. And obviously, the most desirable is the Sattvic kind of meditation, which is done for its own sake. This is exactly what we just now discussed. Swami says the purpose of japa is not for satisfying the worldly desires or getting sensory feelings. So keep that in mind, because oftentimes that's what happens. You see, our mind is, and here a beautiful analogy that Swami uses, the housefly versus the bee. He says the housefly, it jumps from everything. It sits on everything. It may sit on a gulab jamun. It will sit on a kaju katli, and then it will also sit on shit. Okay, and it will sit on garbage, and it will sit on all, everything without any discrimination. Swami says our mind is like that. Sometimes on a Thursday evening or a Sunday evening, we will go to the temple or we will go to bhajans, and at that time the mind will sit on God. Then the bhajan gets over, the week starts, it will sit on work. Then it will sit on family. Then it will sit on the world. It will sit on some desires. Swami says that is not going to get us anywhere. Swami says, let the mind be like the honey. The honeybee only goes for the sweetness of the nectar. It is not interested in any other smell. It is not interested in any other taste. It wants only the nectar. Similarly, our minds must become like that. That is the training that we need to give to the mind. That happens with japa. Swami gives another beautiful example, that of a bicycle. Swami says, many of you may say, okay, why do I need to get a particular time? Why do I need to sit in a particular posture? Swami gives the example of a bicycle. He says, see, when you are trying to learn a bicycle, you won't go directly into the marketplace and learn, right? You will choose a plain open field where there is no traffic, right? So that in case something happens, you lose your balance also, you will probably choose, not such a hard surface. So you need to prepare in order to eventually drive in the marketplace, through traffic, through the streets, etc. Once we have learned that, then we don't need anything, we don't need a particular place but till we reach that level of meditation, we have to have the discipline of sitting in one place, sitting at one particular time, sitting in one particular posture. So that is the beautiful example that Swami gives, the example of the bicycle. Now, this is the most important, which is, how do I know that my meditation is working? Right? What is the impact of meditation? How to measure? See, all of us are today like, dashboards, right? We love KPIs and we love dashboards and we love to see, in anything. I'm sure in your offices also you have, these deadlines and how much of the work is over. Even when you're installing something like software, it will tell us 50% over, 60% over, right? We love to see a dashboard. What is the dashboard for Dhyana? Swami gives us the answer here. Swami says 3 things happen. One is the quality of mind improves. You see, this is a beautiful example that I have heard about the mind. You see, the problem with the mind, compare the mind to a river. Okay? In a river, you have water. The water per se in the river is not problematic. When does the river become a problem? When the speed of the water increases, right? That is when it becomes dangerous to get into a river, right? For example, I don't know if some of those of you who have gone to Rishikesh and Haridwar, you can see the contrasting differences of the same Mother Ganga. In Rishikesh, she is very, placid and calm and serene. You can straight away jump into Ganga and you can have bath and you can have your, do your prayer. The same thing, you come to Brahmakund in Haridwar and the speed is a lot. Therefore, they have given chain. You have to hold on to the chain before you get into Ganga. What has happened? The water is the same. Okay, the reason is that the velocity has increased. And just by the speed of the river increasing, it becomes becomes dangerous. Same thing with the mind. If we are just able to slow down the mind and make it more calm and peaceful, let they will not be as dangerous as the fast moving. So that is the quality of the mind. Second, our ability to be single-minded. Okay, Ekagrata. And third, the degree of patience. You know, oftentimes we complain that "Are kuch nahi ho raha, nothing is happening." Right? Eventually, one day when it comes, it will come like an avalanche. When it comes, it will come like a burst of ecstasy. But till then, let us all have patience. How to measure the impact? Another measure Swami gives. And this is, I would like to quote Swami directly from when he says this. He says, the single fruit, the single most important thing of all the japa and dhyana that we do is only this. How much outfaced have we from being bahirmukhata, how much antarmukhata has happened? From being an outfaced or an outward person, how much inward have I become? If at the end of months of meditation, if my mind is still running outward, if my mind is still running towards the world and its objects, then there has been no impact of the meditation of japa. However, because of japa and dhyana, if my mind has turned inward, then that is the direct impact of japa and dhyana. Once again, we go back to what we already discussed, which is why does the Swami say that turn the mind inward? Because the source of unlimited and infinite joy is inside, not outside. Outside, the world cannot satisfy us enough. Yeah, it may satisfy us for a moment, it may satisfy us, in a particular way, but it cannot give us everlasting infinite joy. That can come only within. And therefore, the turning inside. Finally, what are the critical success factors? See, if I just decide one fine day I want to get up at 5:15, the body is just not going to cooperate, right? That's what happens, right? We all decide our New Year resolutions, for example. We all decide from tomorrow onwards, I'm going to get up at 5:15, and you put alarm on you put alarm on all sorts of all the devices, electronic devices you have, right? You put it on your phone, you will put it on your tab, you will put it on your alarm clock, and at 5:15 the next day morning, all the alarms will start, get up, get up, get up. Okay, and the body says, back off. I am not going to get up. Okay, and then now you're wondering, so the buddhi now, the intellectual aid, you decided, man, you decided that you're going to get up and start this. And then the body says, no, I did not decide. You decided. Did you ask me? Was there any negotiation? Did we have some round table talks? No. So I'm going to sleep. You do whatever you want, right? This is what happens. So it just does not start off just like that. For that, what do we need? Swami says, one must be equipped with good habits, with discipline, and with high ideals. If we have these three, then the meditation becomes possible. Second is, once you have good habits, discipline, and high ideals, that leads to purity of inner life. Okay, a pure mind is calm, a pure mind is composed, and so that is very, very important for a spiritual aspect. And the third, and probably the most important, is to actually start practicing. See, most of us, what happens to us is that even before, like, we take up a particular task, and even before we kind of implement it, we start thinking. I'm sure many of you on this call, right, in this session must be wondering, I won't be able to do that. We, even before trying it, we give up because we feel, this is not for me, maybe I'll do something else. See, so even before taking up the first step, we have kind of given up. And that's exactly what Swami is telling us. Please don't do. You please try to start. At least take the first step and then see how Swami takes. And therefore, I put this picture over there, which is, most of these things, especially when it comes to spiritual endeavors, we start with I can't. I can't. What Swami is telling is simply cut out that T and say I can. Okay, and that T is nothing but tamas, which is our dullness, which is our lack of enthusiasm and lack of willingness. So remove that T out of you and simply say I can. So those are the thoughts that I wanted to give I wanted to share. These are the points that I felt kind of touched me when I read the chapters 1 and 2. And I'm sure that, as you go through this entire book, uh, many more revelations will come through, and your journey on Dhyana will be an extremely successful one. So thank you for this opportunity. And now we can kind of open it up for questions and any discussions that you may want to raise. So thank you, Saira.
Thank you, brother Sarah. Dear participants, you can either post your questions on the chat box, or please raise your hand. We'll call out your name. Then you can come on camera, unmute yourself, and ask your questions. All right, brother. Let's
you
start.
can even put it on the chat screen.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, we have got a few hands raised. So, brother Mayank from Mayank M01 Mayank, can you please go ahead?
Yeah, Saira. Thank you so much for the amazing presentation. You literally recapitulated everything so shortly. My question is that because now we are reading the theoretical part of meditation, do you think it is important to first understand the theory and then proceed to practice? Why am I asking that is because now, because of social media, we interact with so many people. As you rightly said, practicing meditation is quite ubiquitous now. Everyone is practicing meditation. So we see such successful people. Somebody is like, I wanted to get more concentration, so I was successful with meditation. Somebody is, all these things that you mentioned are byproducts of impacts of dhyana, as you said, single-mindedness and everything. Now, these people focus on one aspect. One can get inspired by them, and I'll be like, okay, I also want to be like him or her. Now, I will also sit for meditation with a goal that I want to increase my concentration, or with some certain goal. Now, obviously, according to Swami, these are byproducts. These are not your final goal, but I'm not aware of them. So do you think that if I practice meditation in such a scenario where my goal is not correct per se, maybe that is because I am not fully aware of the theory behind it? Do you think that that meditation is also helpful, or first should I read about it a lot and understand why am I doing meditation? I hope I was able to put forward my question. I hope you were able to understand the essence of it.
Absolutely. I think it's a very pertinent question. I definitely agree with you. And I think, see, that is the difference between the journey that we are going to take up versus, the journey that someone else is going to take up. Any kind of meditation is good. Mind you, I'm not going to say that, only this kind of meditation is good. In fact, taking the very first step in meditation itself is good. Even if it means that, we call it the low-hanging fruits. So let's at least start with the low-hanging fruits until we reach, the pinnacle of what Swami is expecting. However, what Swami is telling us to do is that don't be satisfied with these low-hanging fruits. Okay, don't just think that, okay, I got this and this is it. So typically, let us say that you're using meditation as a stress buster. Okay, so just like I gave you the example of Hillary Clinton, right? So imagine after 6 months of practice, you are able to overcome it, and you are like, hey, you know what, this works awesome. That's it. No. Start to see only when we start hitting a little higher than our level, and we don't get satisfied with that. That is what is going to egg us on, forward. That is what is going to incentivize us to go that much deeper. Like, is there something more to just, just getting a stress-free life, or is there something more to it, which is finding that, that infinite source of joy within, which is very much within me. It is not outside of me. So once we start hitting that level of goal, all of these byproducts. So if you ask me, should I be reading more about meditation? Not necessarily. Whatever has been mentioned over here, in fact, okay, so let me say one thing. And this will be like kind of turning off the others, which is just listen to this talk. No need to listen to any other, no need to listen to any of the rest of the chapters of Dhyana Vahini.
Yeah.
Okay, it's very convenient for me to say it, but I'm just saying that Swami, in the very first 2 chapters only, has hit it out of the park. He's shown us the ultimate.
Correct.
Okay, all of the other chapters are just reiteration of that. So keep that as the goal. No need, if you want to read different techniques, see, there are so many different techniques. There is the Buddhist, the Madhyamika Buddhist techniques. where Lord Buddha tells, Shunyam, Shunyam, Sarvam Shunyam, Dukkham, Dukkham, Sarvam Dukkham, Kshanikam, Kshanikam, Sarvam Kshanikam. So there is a way to meditate on that, right? Which is to think of everything as momentary. Since you have asked this question, let's very quickly do an exercise. Okay, so all of you on this call, I will request you to just follow the instructions that you are hearing. Okay, this I promise you it won't last more than 2 minutes. So just follow this this exercise to the next 2 minutes. Be comfortable and just close your eyes and simply listen. Relax your forehead. Relax your cheeks. Relax your shoulders. Relax your hands. Relax your feet. And take a deep breath in. Feel the air filling your lungs and your tummy. And now breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now, listen to the sound that is around. Simply listen to the sound that is around you. If there is a fan in the room, listen to the rotating fan, rotating blades of the fan. If there is traffic around you, listen to the sounds of the cars. Listen to the honking. Do not analyze the sound. Do not judge the sound. Do not see whether the sound is a desirable sound or it is an undesirable sound. Just listen. Just listen. Gently open your eyes. And tell me, what were your thoughts? Was there any thought? What was the experience?
It was being aware of what was around me. So that was one, like, still single-minded attention to what was happening around me. It did not run away.
This is one of the techniques of just being aware. See, the word you use is a beautiful word. Our chit. See, this awareness is in the Sat Chit Ananda. No, this is chit. Being aware. Being aware without doing all the analysis that comes along. See, our problem is when a thought comes, no, we also run along with the thought because we are doing analysis. For example, some honking goes on. Arey, yaar, why is he doing like this? I don't know when this country is going to improve. When is the traffic going to improve? Our mind runs behind that thought. No, we are just being aware. And that is all that meditation is all about, right? So unless we start practicing this, we will not be, how many books we read, it won't help us. So I hope that this is kind of answering.
Just to summarize for me, I guess once you start practicing, once you develop that consistency, you yourself will realize what is the byproduct and what is the goal. So the first key is to just begin. Okay. Sairam, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother Mayank. And brother Amey, I also, this reminded me of your last time session on Dhyana Vahini. You quoted a beautiful example of our mind, and our mind is more like a man, and when it runs, it runs like a puppy. The more we go and try to catch it, it keeps running away like an unleashed puppy. So if we just sit there in our own tranquility, it just comes to us. Thanks for reminding those words again. The next
Wonderful.
question
Thank
is
you.
from
Thank you for bringing that.
M. Jeevan from Karnataka. Thank you, brother.
Sairam brother. Uh, yeah, I'm Jeevan Kumar. Thank you so much for the session, brother. Like it really helped us in understanding the concept much more. So I have a couple of questions which are kind of like interlinked. Swami says that while doing dhyana, not to focus much on results. Now my question is like while doing meditation, I'm keep on getting a question that am I doing it correctly? Am I in a right path? Is there any way I can gauge my cause the impact of meditation on me? So is it okay to ask those questions? If so, what is a better way wherein I can gauge or I can find out I'm in a right path?
Beautiful question. See, let's go back to the very first slide that we spoke about, which is as long as my desire is self-improvement, self-realization, so on and so forth, those are all good desires because those are Shreyo Karmas. Those are karmas which will liberate us. But if my desire is that, okay, am I going to get a promotion out of this, or am I going to impress someone with whatever I'm doing? Then that is binding. So to have these kind of desires that the basic result of the meditation actually must come out of our own actions. See, our meditation is only the preparation for the rest of the day, right? For example, how impactful has been my meditation will come in my interaction with the rest of the world. Having, let's say, meditated in the morning for, let's say, 20 minutes or 15 minutes, then I walk into the world, and now comes the real test of, what meditation I have done. Okay, how am I talking to my colleagues? How am I talking to my superiors, my subordinates, with my family, with everybody in the organization, whichever community that I may be a part of? How am I interacting? And before we go to bed, then let's do a self-audit process as to, did this really work? Where did I go wrong? Why did I speak like that? Why did I lose my temper? Why did I get frustrated? Right? So that kind of a result-oriented meditation is always beneficial. Right? Otherwise, it's like a machine doing meditation. It doesn't mean anything. But to use what Swami is telling us to be weary about, or to be concerned about, is if I'm going to do meditation for a specific desire in the world, then that is not correct. Okay? So having these kind of desires of why am I not feeling the peace, or why am I not feeling the calmness? That's a good kind of desire, to start with. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, brother. Thank you. And I just want to know, is there any way I can know that I'm moving in the right direction in meditation?
So that's exactly what we discussed, right?
Yes.
Which is the quality of mind, right?
Yeah.
The 3 points that Swami said: the quality of mind, the one-pointedness, right? Those are, so what is the quality of, are there good thoughts in my mind, or am I still being kind of plagued by the wrong thoughts? So what are good thoughts?
Okay.
Any selfless thought, okay, is a good thought. Any thought where I am the central, like, how could this happen to me? Bad thought. Very simple. Any selfish thought is a bad thought. Any selfless thoughts are good thoughts. So is my mind, is my heart becoming more expansive? Is my heart becoming larger? Am I thinking of the good of, it could be anything. It could be my family, it could be my organization, it could be my country, it could be the entire world, right? So the quality of mind, and obviously the second part which Swami says, which is Bahirmukta to Antarmukta. Am I becoming more inward? Not introvert. By inward, we don't mean introvert. By inward, we mean, am I kind of finding that joy within myself, or am I still depending on something for my joy? Right? So that is what, those are the direct impacts that you can feel with your.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Sai.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Next, brother Adav from Madhya Pradesh. Can you please go ahead and ask your question?
Sairam sir, firstly, it's such a pleasure to have interaction with you. My question is, from second chapter, there was a sentence, the knower of Atma becomes the Atma. So, and there's written that the goal of our life is to understand the Atma. So, what do you make of this sentence?
Wow. Okay. So you have, you have gone directly to the deepest aspect, of Vedanta, which is what is the Atma? Okay. The actual etymological meaning of the word Atma is. Okay. It simply, are you able to hear me?
Yes,
brother,
yes.
Yes.
So it simply means the self. Okay, it is me. Atma is nothing.
Brother, you're again got muted.
Yeah, I'm just getting a call, so I'm just cutting it off. So just bear with me. Yeah. So as I was mentioning, Atma simply means myself, and the definition of Atma is nothing but existence, awareness, bliss, which is Sat, Chit, and Ananda. What do I mean by this? You don't get too overwhelmed with these words. It's a very simple thing. Do I know that I exist? Right? That feeling of me existing is nothing but Sat. Now the problem is what I am thinking of myself as me. When I define me, I am thinking this body-mind complex, okay, which is this hands and this body, and all my thoughts and my feelings. So the body plus all my thoughts and feelings is who I think I am. Okay, Swami is telling no, you are not that. Why? Because both of these things, this body and mind are known to you. Okay, so here is a very simple example. Let me give you a really simple example. Let's say you get very, very angry. Okay, just think when you get very, very angry, next time, okay, I hope you never ever get angry, but just in case you get angry, just pause for a second and ask yourself, am I angry or am I the knower of my anger? I'll repeat it. Am I angry or am I the knower of my anger? Okay. So let us say you feel frustrated. Are you frustrated or are you the knower of your frustration? Just think about it. It's not a play with the words. It simply is that whatever feeling or emotion I am getting, I am the knower of that. I am not that. Yes or no? Do you agree with me or not, brother?
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Correct? So when I get angry, when I feel joy, when I feel peaceful, when I feel frustrated, what is basically happening is I am knower of that joy, I am knower of that anger, I am the knower of that frustration, which means I am simply the knower. The knower is different from the known. So if my body and mind are known to me, which means I am not this body and mind, I am the knower of this body and mind. That is nothing.
And then subsequently we can make some constructive decisions which can then lead to
So no. So let me stop you here. So you said subsequently I can make no, all the decisions are made in the mind. See, me knowing the Atman is not going to help me in the outside world. Let us be very clear about this.
Yes.
Okay. It is once again, as I told you, it is like using, now that I know the Atman, I can do better decisions. No, that means I'm using Atman to get the world. No.
Yeah. No.
Right? The Atman is the destination. The Atman is the ultimate, which is who I am. It's like saying, why do you go home? And please answer me, brother, why do you go home?
I mean, I cannot understand the context. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you will say, why do I go home? Because home is my home, yeah. That is where I am. No,
Yes.
after all days long, days work, or wherever you are, you want to go back home, or you eventually go home. Why? Because that is your home. If somebody asks you why are you going home, you will say, "Arey, why? Because that is exactly. Why are you trying to realize your Atman? Because that is who you are. There's nothing like because I will realize the Atman, I will do well in the world. No, that is who you are.
They
Okay,
both are the different
so
aspects. Yes.
the body mind is not who you are. You are knowing the body and the mind. Okay, so let me just kind of wrap this up by saying there's a beautiful sentence which is actually pretty much like the crux of Vedanta, which goes, uh, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Napara, which means Brahma is Satyam, only Brahman is Satyam, and this entire world, Jagat Mithya, this entire world is an illusion. And so, who is Brahman? So, somebody may say, okay, so there may be a Brahman, good for him. Okay. The second line is, okay, it is saying that you are that, you and Brahman, so the Atma and Brahman are one and the same. Very simple, right? So, coming back to your question, which is the knower of Brahman becomes Brahman, that's exactly what it is. The knower itself is right. So that is the meaning of that statement. It is probably the most important statement, but kind of intellectually to understand it, we have to kind of be at it, keep contemplating on it, and then we will realize it slowly.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a beautiful explanation, sir. Thank you so much, Sairam.
Thank you, brother Sairam. And brother, coincidentally, the same thing was called out in the thought for the day yesterday, that says through meditation, people reach the divine experience of realizing the Atma within themselves. And that helped them to cast off those ignorance and what you just spoke about. Wonderful, brother. Thank you.
It cannot be different because if it is different, then that is right and this is wrong. Be sure of that. Those are Swami's words. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. And next, can we have brother Vijay Sai from Telangana State?
Sairam.
Sairam,
Sir. Am I audible, sir?
yes, very much.
Yeah. Sir, my question is with the B example, what Swami has given, like Anekagrata to Ekagrata. My question will be, what does it actually mean, sir? For an example, if I'm a soldier in a war zone, what should be my Ekagrata on? Is it on the Swami or is it on the action I do? And the following, my question will be, is this Anekagrata to Ekagrata or, anything, the thing what Swami is talking about, is it a byproduct of the meditation or is this the meditation itself? Is it the sadhana itself? And what should be the ultimatum, sir? Sairam.
It's a beautiful question. There are many, many layers to what you have just asked. So let's try and kind of take it up, one by one. First of all, do not let it, when you said, if I am a soldier in the battlefield, do I concentrate on Swami or do I concentrate on work? Which means you have straight away distinguished between Swami and work. What Swami is simply telling us is that work is worship. Whatever duty you are doing is God. Duty is God and work is worship. So there is no question of differentiating, oh, this is now my Swami life and now this is my professional life or this is my personal life. There is nothing like a distinction between. Everything is Swami. Right? That's why we said, no, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Everything else is Mithya. Brahman. So what does Brahman mean? This entire world that you are seeing around is nothing but the Lord. So when we are doing work, our full and complete focus must be on the work. But the only difference over there is, can we offer that? See, again, here I would like to say that maybe there may be somebody who don't believe in the concept of God, like a personal God, right? There may be some people who say, I can't, I'm not able to resonate with a personal God, whether it's Sathya Baba, for that matter, any other form of God. That's okay. That's okay. The point is, for those who can resonate with the idea of God, it becomes easier if I can, whatever work I'm doing, I do it as an offering to Swami. That's why Swami says, Sarva Karma Bhagavad Vidya. So do it as an offering to God. That's one. For those who don't believe in the concept of God as a personal God, you just do Nishkama Karma, which is doing karma, doing action on its own without wanting the fruits of the action, without having any eye on the fruits of the action. That is equivalent. Mind you, in Bhagavad Gita and in Gita Vahini, Swami very clearly mentions that a karma, a Nishkama karma is equivalent to Sarva Karma Bhagavad Gita. Because these are for two different types of people. There may be a third variety of people who may say that I don't know how to do this. I'm just doing it for myself. Okay, that is, so that is the Atma, which is the Atma Vishwas, that the Atman that we were just talking about. Right? So either which way you go, the ultimate understanding is that you have to be focused on the work you do. Now, the second question which you asked is, when I need, do I need Ekagrata for meditation, or is Ekagrata meditation itself? Yes, the first one. Rather, the second, which is Ekagrata is meditation itself. Right? One leads to the other. Now, how to understand this? Sometimes, as Swami explains in one of the discourses, he says, 12 seconds of Ekagrata, that is 12 seconds of intense concentration on something, is what is referred to as concentration. 12 into 12 will be Dharana. And 144, so 12 into 12 is 144, and 144 seconds into 12, which is roughly about 20-27 minutes, is Dhyana and Samadhi. Okay, so these are technical things. Of course, don't start putting a clock, because the moment you think of a clock, which means you're not meditating because you're thinking of the clock, right? But technically, this is what it is. So Ekagrata for us, unfortunately, does not last for more than some amount of time. But just a constant Ekagrata is itself meditation. Meditation is not something different, or it's not something that comes after this. Ekagrata is that different. So does that answer your question?
Sairam.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Sarah. Next, brother Sai Krishna from Maharashtra. Can you please unmute yourself and ask a question?
Yes. Saram, brother. Thanks for the wonderful session and like what you summarize. I had two questions at the first, but they already got answered. The one was like how to intensify the meditation, and you gave wonderful explanation about the see for the near fruit and then go for that little push every time, and it actually helped me, and also I've got little lazy about that. I got some experiences, wonderful experiences, and after that I got a little bit satisfied with what I got, and then okay, I've got there, but that's it. That's fine. And the second one was to how to differentiate with between the physical and the Atma, and that also got answered in very nice words by you. Like another thought came up in my mind that how do we differentiate with the in the times of deciding, say we have to decide, we have to take up some action. So in that time, how do we decide the right voice within us? That is it coming from the mind or is it come from our heart? What's the right one that we should be, and how to follow that?
Dear brother, your question is $1 million question, because this is exactly what the entire sadhana is all about.
Yes.
How to differentiate between the voice of the mind and the voice of the conscience. So I'll give you 3 thumb rules for it. These are all Swami's thumb rules, and I think they are pretty useful. Number 1, the voice of the mind will always be selfish. The voice of the conscience will always be selfish. That is, the mind will always say, what are you getting out of this? Tere ko kya hai? Tusko kya mil raha hai usko? Right? Whereas the conscience will be like, nahi bhai, this is the right thing to do. For example, give you a very simple example. if you're a student, I'm sure all of us have been students at some point of time. We know that, I'm supposed to study during this time. Okay, the mind will start telling, "Are theek hai na yaar, baad mein kar de yaar." What? You can sit for another. Abhi to acha match, cricket match chal raha hai. There's a good cricket match going on. Watch for some time. From inside, there will be one voice which is constantly telling you, you have to study here. तेरे को पढ़ना है. So the mind will now start, what it will start doing. It's okay. Maybe for half an hour you watch, then for half an hour you study, then another half an hour you see, the mind will give you lots of options, but the conscience will be telling you only one thing, which is the correct thing to do. Right? So the mind will give options. He'll say, okay, so now maybe you can, study now, you record the match, maybe tomorrow you can watch the match. See, all of it may be right or wrong, but the conscience will be only telling you what you need to do. The mind will come up with many, many options. Why? Because it is connected to you. So anything which is selfish is is given by the mind. Anything which is selfless is given by the conscience. Number one. Number two, the conscience will always tell you long term. Okay, think long term. The mind will tell you, "Abhi ko abhi ho raha hai na yaar," kar le. Right? For example, oftentimes this is what happens, right? That let's say there is a test tomorrow, okay, and we say, "You know what? I know I'm supposed to study, but I also want to sleep." You sleep. Okay, that what you wanted to sleep for 10 minutes, it ended up becoming a 1 hour sleep. You wake up after 1 hour and you're like, "Oh my God, what did I do?" Now imagine, just see what happened over here. Is that your mind told you that it's okay if you sleep, okay? Your conscience was kept telling you that no, you need to study. Your mind gave you an option to kind of overcome that, but your mind told you, right now you're sleepy, just sleep off. Okay. Once you woke up, you're like, "Oh my God, I lost 1 hour." Right? So long term versus short term. Your mind told you what you wanted to do at that point of time, whereas your conscience was telling you what you need to do in a long term perspective. Right? So conscience will always give you long, mind will always give you short. The mind will always tell you selfish, the conscience will always tell you selfless. And the third and most important kind of thing is, the conscience will always be at peace. If you have followed the conscience, you will always be at peace, irrespective of what the entire world tells you. You know that there are many things. I did that. Okay, it may look wrong in the medium term. In the short term, it may look wrong, but you will be at peace. Whereas, if you have listened to the voice of the mind, irrespective of what others tell you, there will be some conflict. I should not have done this. I should have maybe done that like that. So Swami talks about peace versus conflict. If you have followed the conscience, even though, for example, you have to reach office in time, but you saw somebody suffering, your heart told you, your conscience told you, go and help that person. You help that person, eventually you reach late and your boss fires you. Okay, you know inside of your heart you did that. Boss kuch bhi bole, whatever somebody else may say, I know I did the right thing, Swami. I know I am satisfied. Yes, I am ready to take the consequences of reaching office, late. However, imagine the same thing happens the other way, which is something has happened on the road. Okay, and you say, "Nahi yaar, mujhe office jaldi pahunchna hai." This can remain. It will keep eating you from inside. Nahi yaar,
Yes,
you know what? I
definitely.
should have gone and helped. So this is conflict because you did not listen to the voice of the mind. So three things: selfless versus selfish, long-term versus short-term, peace versus conflict. So these are like some three very quick thumb rules for you to know, whether you're listening to the voice of the mind.
Yes, yes. Like I'll definitely use them at the time of deciding. Definitely gonna use them. And thank you so much, Sairam.
Thank you, brother Saram. Next, can we have brother Ganesh from Delhi?
Okay, so just keep an eye on the time. We have
Yes, brother. Yes, brother.
Hi, brother. Thank you so much for the wonderful session and this question. And my question is related to the previous answer that you have given. Like 12 seconds is Ekagrata and 144 seconds is Dharana. So in the current real world situation, is it not hampering that process of focusing on single thing?
because of this social media or anything that is the practice for hours. 30 seconds is the maximum time that we are being paying attention to anything, and we almost spending time on social media, any other app, not only social media, on any other thing, news item or anything, with a very short period. And now we are from the complete situation to an different practice that we are doing in dhyana, and we are focusing on single thing and trying to do exactly opposite to what we are doing for the last 20 years, or more than that. So how to manage this, or is it possible to avoid completely, away from the social media, or how you are managing, or how Swami students are managing this? That is my first question.
Wow. Okay. So I think you have raised a very, very important. All these questions are so wonderful, so relevant. So coming to the concept of social media, and in fact, yesterday, before the yesterday session, when I was sitting in the mandir and I was thinking, Swami, what is that thought that I can kind of share? This thought came to my mind. Look at, our mind is exactly all of the social media, right? These people who are developing all of these apps, they are some of the greatest psychologists. They have understood the human mind very, very well, and they are exactly tweaking it the way our mind works. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to now beat them at their own game. By what? So let me just give you this, this analogy. Look at the smartphone. So look at the phones that we are all referring to, whatever it is, it's a laptop, or whether it is the tab, or whether it's the phone. There are two things on a phone, right? You have an operating system, and then you have a bunch of apps. Okay. While I'm giving you this analogy, keep thinking about how it is with the mind as well. Every app is like a thought on our operating system, which is our consciousness, or I would say consciousness. Okay. Don't worry about the words. You can use them interchangeably, but basically consider the mind as the operating system, and all of these apps are like different thoughts. Now, what do? We have an opportunity, or we have the ability to shut off notification, on the apps that we don't want to disturb. Correct? So we go to the settings, we go to notifications, and then we kind of click off. There may be some news apps, there may be some Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, right? We have the ability to shut down the notification. That's exactly what we are expected, what Swami is expecting us to do. In our mind, there are so many apps running, and we get all of the apps, working simultaneously. The process of dhyana is nothing but the process of switching off the notification on these apps, right? So the first thing that we need to do is to slow down, which is let only one app run, which is the most important app. But even if it is like, let's say puja is also a good app, bhajan is also a good app, seva is also a good app. But remember, these are all apps. All of these are apps. What Swami is telling us is focus on the operating system that is running. That is who you are, right? Every app is only, it is kind of powered. It is only generated by the operating system. If the operating system is faulty, no app can work. Yes or no? So oftentimes you would have seen, let's say you are working on something on your phone, and on the top or at the bottom, depending upon whichever OS you're using, you will have these notifications coming. What do? You just flip them off, or you just swipe them on the right or the left. That's exactly the process of when the Dhyana app is running, right? All other notifications, we should have the ability to just swipe them to the right or the left, or send them off. But the ultimate destination of the Dhyana is to know that even that is an app which is working on the fundamental OS. Okay, and so how much time am I actually spending with the operating system? And how much time am I spending with the OS? Coming to the practical question that you had asked, which is what do I do? I would say I am not on any social media app, very, very consciously. I am not on Twitter, I'm not on Instagram, I'm not on Facebook. I am on WhatsApp, so that's again just a messaging app. So I use it for communication, and consciously I try not to spend. For example, there was a time maybe about 6-7 years back when I started, using a smartphone 7-8 years ago. What used to happen is early in the morning, the first thing that as soon as I would wake up, right, my hand would go towards my phone. Correct? I'm sure it happens with many of you. And after kind of, listening to a few talks and obviously what Swami says, I said, I am literally, the phone has become like an extension of my arm. Okay? No, I'm not going to do that. So I have now decided that until I finish my morning prayer, which is for roughly about 45 minutes since the time I wake up, I am not going to touch the phone. Right? So obviously when we are in bhajans, when we are doing our office work, right, we do not, as much as the temptation is there to look at the phone, we will not. So one way to do that is to switch off the notification, right? So even in our own our own lives, what we can do is to veer ourselves away from social media, because it is such a, see, they have understood this. They know that our attention span is only for 30 seconds, and therefore they make videos which are only 30 seconds or 20 seconds or 10 seconds, because they're massaging our mind. They want us to see that. And that is why we have to beat them at their own game. How do we do that? By simply saying, you come to my phone, but I'm not going to watch. As simple as that, right? So you start slowly, and we don't have to make the big jumps. Somebody may say, I'm going to leave Facebook. Not necessary, because you leave Facebook for a week only to come back with a vengeance. You'll put Facebook again, and now you'll have more friends and more stuff to read. So no, reduce your time slowly, slowly, slowly. If you're spending 2 hours, make it 1 hour 45 minutes to 1.5 hours to half an hour. Leave as many groups as you can. Be only in the groups that are necessary, etc. So there are many techniques. Of course, we can maybe have another discussion. So I mean, these are just my thoughts.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother, for the question as well. Brother, with this, is it okay for closing the session here, brother, and we can take those questions offline? Thank you, brothers, and whoever have questions, please look at the group. There is a link posted. Have a look, post your questions there. We'll collect it all and send it to Brother Amey for his answers.
And not just me. There are going to be so many wonderful speakers, throughout the entire journey. For you, it's a long journey, brothers. It's a 9-month journey, right? And you will have wonderful speakers. You will have your own experiences. One thing I can definitely tell you is, watch out for your own experience. Nothing like having your own experience. You may listen to tons and thousands of speakers like us, useless. You can just throw us in the dustbin, which will be equivalent to one of your experience. You get one experience, you will never need to listen to anything. The amount of confidence that it will generate in yourself will be so tremendous that, we don't need Amey Deshpande, we don't need any other brother. Okay. But however, there are so many other brothers who are going to speak to you. So, park all your questions for them as well. And I'm sure you'll get some really interesting insights from all of your teachers and all of your trainers over the next 9 months. I would only say, like they say in a flight, right before the takeoff, fasten your seat belts, close your tray tables, and get ready for takeoff. That's what is going to happen with all of you in the next 9 months. So, wishing you all the very best for a fantastic journey, a spiritual journey, a journey with Swami, a journey to Swami. Thank you.
Certainly, brother, certainly. And it's always a pleasure listening to you. I'm sure this session will propel and act as a catalyst for our brothers to have their journey in words. And brothers, from all of our behalf, we would like to congratulate you and your entire Center for Human Values team for launching a new website a couple of days ago. And I would suggest all those brothers to have a look at it as well. With this, Brother Nitesh, we shall proceed with the Shanti Mantra. Sai Ram.
समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ